busy sports day here on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. We know some of you are checking over from the Heat game. We'll have full coverage of that as usual. We'll have our post-game show with 5 on the floor as soon as the Heat and Spurs are finished in Mexico City. But right after that, the Dolphins are going to be playing the Bills in what we think is going to be snowy Buffalo, although maybe not as snowy as we thought. We basically have got our intrepid South Florida reporters who have been tweeting out snow pictures all day as if no one has ever actually seen it. I know our guy.
I've never seen snow. Is
that right? You've never actually seen it up close?
I've never seen it up close.
Wow, that is something. Eric, were you born down here?
I was born down here.
Okay, but you have seen snow, I'm assuming, right? At some point.
I have seen snow at some point, yes.
Okay, well, that's good. So actually, my daughter is not, so I'm trying to get her to Boston during the last week of this year to make sure that she does. All right, before we get to the show today, we're going to preview everything. We're going to give you the latest that we have right now as we speak. It's about 6 Eastern, so it's about 2 hours before the game, but this should be good up until game time. We do want to mention our sponsor here tonight. Our primary sponsor is Prize Picks. Use the code 5, FIVE. Get your initial deposit matched up to $100. I hope you were not stupid enough to play Kirk Cousins in the first half today, like I was. Where he went under 50 yards in the first half. But there's still plenty to play, and including a lot on the Dolphins. And I'm going to go through that with these guys in the second half of this pregame show. So go get your bonus up to $100. You don't have to play it all at once. There are no rollovers. You can pair it with other NFL, although this will be the last NFL game of the day, but also with NBA and also with the World Cup tomorrow, the final. Our guy, Austin Robillard, he's got a new episode up on the channel with all the picks for tomorrow. Does he like Mbappe? Does he like Messi? Actually, he likes a lot of other things. So check that out with Prize Picks. Use that code 5, FIVE. Get your initial deposit matched up to $100. All right, let's get to this because, the story today, Hussam, it seems to be the weather. It doesn't seem to be anything else. We really haven't focused on the – I know you have. You did in an episode, the Scouting Combine, which everybody should check out. But most people don't seem to be focusing on, the matchups or anything like that. It's just like the matchup is the weather. Like that's – and it's Tua's not going to be able to do anything in the weather. That's the consensus. Josh Allen is. The running backs for Buffalo are, but yet both running backs from Buffalo are from South Florida. So I don't know who this favors. And then you've got a big physical back that the Dolphins have in Jeff Wilson. I think people are discounting that a little bit. And they're also discounting the fact that if you can throw a little quick slant to Tyreek Hill and he makes one guy miss, like he's gone. Like you're not going to be able to chase him down today. So let's just look at it this way. If the weather is bad, but not atrocious, okay, if from the conditions right now, it looks slippery. Okay. They'll clean that up a little bit. If there's some flurries during the game, it's not something that nobody's played before. If it's not completely uninhabitable, how do the Dolphins attack this game? Because I would assume coming out in 4 wide is not the way to do it.
Honestly, you wouldn't go into 4 wide, and Alf and I talked about it in the Scouting Combine with Cover One's Greg Tompkins, another Bills guy within our network. It's more so about using 11 personnel. You have Gesicki out wide, you have Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Trent Sherfield or River Craycraft, and you kind of want to invert this offense, right? So the thing is with this Bills defense, they have all the good parts of the 49ers and the Chargers. They have a pretty good defensive line, ranked top 5 defensive line, and a pretty decent secondary with Tre'Davious White and Kaiir Elam and Jordan Poyer's back. They have aggressive corners that can play man, that can also play press. So when you're talking about just the offensive schematics of this, you, want to be able to pass the ball. Now, of course, they're going to try and take away the middle of the field. But as we saw in the Chargers game, the dump offs to Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson were open. Tua's going to have to look at his second and third read a little bit. He's going to have to make sure that crossers are there. Mike McDaniel is going to have to call quick passes, and maybe, the run game has to get going, especially in weather and condition like this.
The run game has to get going, Eric. To get the run game going, you have to commit to the run game. It's a little bit of a chicken or the egg thing. It's like if you don't have success early, we've seen that Mike McDaniel will get away from it, that he'll lose trust in it. But if he doesn't stay with it, then there's not going to be any fruit that's born here. Like, so I mean, what are we? I mean, he's not gonna call for 25 to 30 carries today, right? Like, what do you expect from the run game?
I mean, I kind of wish he would call for 25 to 30 carries today. But I do think that it's going to be a lot of the short passing game to kind of supplement the run. I do expect to see a lot of wide receiver screens, maybe some reverses, get Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle involved any way that you can, especially with the field conditions. If they're going to be slick, you want your fastest guys to have the ball in their hands in space, whether that's Raheem Mostert or whether that's Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill. And if the weather is just absolutely atrocious, Jeff Wilson's going to have to be a huge part of the game plan in that case.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would think, Hussam, is that you would feature him in some way. We talk about speed. Let's go to the outside, though, a little bit also. With Hill, with Waddle, I saw their numbers in Prize Picks are the lowest that they've been pretty much since like the second week of the season, since they blew up on everybody. I think Waddle's at like 54.5. But again, you just need to break one. Like that's the thing. Like, I mean, you break one in a game like this, you have a chance here. How do they attack with the two of them? And why do I think that Trent Sherfield might be a sneaky play in Prize Picks at 23.5 yards?
I mean, that play of Trent Sherfield, 23.5 yards. I mean, that is easy money every single time. I don't know why people haven't figured this out yet. I mean, he's guaranteed to get at least 30 or 40 yards. And I think this will instead be a big game for Trent Sherfield, which is why I think you should take the over in 23.5. And I'm glad that you mentioned it, Ethan. The Bills are going to really hyper-focus on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And the matter of fact, the game calls for short passes and the run game, so the Bills are going to be ready for that. They're going to play that cover 6, that cover 2. They're going to be reading Tua all the way. That's where Trent Sherfield and a guy like River Craycraft and Mike Gesicki come in. They're going to have to make those tough contested catches in the short zones, in the flats, over the middle of the field, and even on the outside. The thing with this Bills defense is, Ethan and Eric, they're built to stop the big play, but like the Dolphins defense, they can also die by death by paper cuts. You can slowly get this game. You can build up time of possession, what opposing offensive has done on this Dolphins defense. You build up that time of possession and you get down the field and you make that Buffalo defense tired in the cold. Whether this calls for the run game with Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson, which I don't think they're going to be capable to do that. It's going to be up to Tua, Tyreek, Jalen, Trent, Mike Gesicki, River Craycraft, and even Alec Ingold to make tough contested catches up against this Bills defense.
You mentioned Gesicki. We've gotten to the point where we don't mention Gesicki anymore. Before I go to Eric on this, Hussam, like what? I mean, are we at the point where we've written this off? Because I mean, it's pretty clear that they were moving in his direction during a certain part of the season, and then they moved away from it again. Like he's not getting the looks, he's not getting the touches anymore. But now if you've got, if there's a blueprint from the last two games of kind of squeezing the middle of the field on Tua and making him throw outside towards the sticks, like outside the hashes, okay, which seems to be what's happened last week and what happened to a certain degree the week before. It would seem to be even less of a role for Gesicki there, or is getting the bigger target in that kind of in the middle of the field, could that be beneficial here?
I think more so Gesicki is going to be used as like a ploy or a decoy because you have a really, really good linebacker tandem in Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano. I mean, I tweeted this out yesterday and I kind of got some pushback from some Dolphins fans. I said Matt Milano is a top 2 linebacker in the NFL, and he's not top 2, right? He can cover, he can rush the passer, and the only way to get Matt Milano out of the offensive line's hair and out of Tua's face is Mike Gesicki. You're going to have Mike Gesicki running those streaks, running those crossers. You're going to have to make Mike Gesicki go deep so Matt Milano can cover him, and you open up the short areas, the middle of the field, so that way you take those crossers. The Bills play a lot of two-man, which Tua is inefficient against. There's been some talks about even through Kurt Warner where Tua may not be reading through his first read. Maybe Gesicki is his first read. Is he there? Is he not? Is he open? Boom, dart. Right then and there, gain a chunk play. I do think Gesicki is going to be a big part of this game plan just because of how Buffalo's defense is built. If they latch on to Gesicki, that's going to mean more targets for the rest of the wide receiver and running back tandem. If they don't, I think it may be a long game for this Dolphins offense.
All right, we're going to pivot to the other side of this in a second, and then we're going to do our prize picks. Thanks to Cap for Life for putting up the comments here. That might be the case. Christian Wilkins is the best player on the defense right now, or he's been playing at the highest level on the defense. Thanks to our producer Manny Chang for producing and getting up the comments as well. Do want to mention our betting sponsor here before we go forward, BettorEdge.com. You've got a full Sunday of football coming up tomorrow, even with the 3 games being played today. Go to BettorEdge.com. Use the code 5RSN. That's the number 5RSN. Everybody's asking, like, how do I bet legally? This is how you bet legally. You're betting against other people. You're not betting against a book. And it's also because it's not like coming from offshore. You don't have to wait for like money transfers and money orders to show up at your door 6 weeks later with some guy in a big black coat. Okay. You actually can get your money. You're betting against people on the app. And the cool thing about it is you can find the line that you want. So just check it out. Sign up at BettorEdge.com. Use the code 5. That's the number 5RSN. We've been running a college football tournament there as well. We'll run more tournaments as we head into the NFL playoffs. Check it out. BettorEdge. You can bet the NBA and NHL there also. All right, let's get to the other side of the ball here, and then we'll get into some prize picks. Eric, like I mentioned, the 2 backs for the Bills are from South Florida. Devin Singletary's from American Heritage Plantation. He's from American Heritage Palm Beach County, not Delray, not the one in Plantation, but nonetheless. Here, I'm going to start with a prize picks play. To me, the easiest money on the board is Josh Allen over 45.5 rushing yards today. I just think that's
they have the promo on him right now.
What's that?
They have the promo on him right now, where I think it's down to 33.5 with the.
Oh my god, I missed that. They got the Picksmith thing going on right now. All right,
yeah,
easy money.
You gotta play that. I mean, that is an absolute. I mean, if he ends up at 40 rush yards today, I want to be pissed because I played this earlier today.
Yep.
I mean, that just seems to me like a total given today. I mean, there's going to be 5 or 6 or 7 design runs, and there's going to be 5 or 6 or 7 runs that were not design runs. So we are all going over on that. But how do they contain that? Because obviously you don't want Diggs going off on you. We've seen Davis can go off. Their tight end Dawson Knox is pretty damn good. They throw to their backs. I mean, they've got a lot of options there. But how do you control the Allen running?
I mean, it's going to take a level of discipline from the defense that, quite frankly, I don't think that we've seen all year, specifically against rushing quarterbacks. So, I mean, honestly, and you know, I've just been really hoping that this game is just as soupy and awful as possible to just take away the possibility of a Stephon Diggs over the top. That way, you don't even have to account for it. But it's just going to take a really disciplined game from their linebackers. Jerome Baker, Landon Roberts, those guys are going to have to play their assignments. You know, you can't take bad angles. You can't miss on picking the wrong gaps. You know, you're going to need a full-on comprehensive effort. And the defensive line is going to need to get pressure, preferably up front. It's going to be Christian Wilkins getting pressure in Josh Allen's face, not Chubb and Phillips coming where Josh Allen can kind of squeeze out of the pocket. You're going to have to come with pressure in his face, and then the linebackers are going to have to clean up.
I mean, can they do it, Hussam?
I mean, as Eric said it, you got to keep Josh Allen in the pocket. You have Bradley Chubb, you have Jalen Phillips, you have Christian Wilkins. And I tweeted this out from your account, Ethan, your 5 Reasons Sports account. Got a lot of views, but Bradley Chubb is number 4 in pass rush win rate. Jalen Phillips is number 9 in pass rush win rate. Christian Wilkins is number 24 in pass rush win rate. And here's the key. You attack the right guard, and it looks like Greg Van Roten is starting. Now, if you guys listen to the scouting combine, like I hope you guys did, we talked about Jalen Phillips playing a lot in the 3-tech, and right now Jalen Phillips is shirtless practicing in the freezing cold right now. Manny, I don't know if you'll be able to bring that those picture up.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask if Manny practices shirtless in Miami, because I don't even think he does that.
Yeah, but I really think it's going to be up to Jalen Phillips just getting on those stunts, those inside twists. And listen, if you're banking on Jerome Baker and Landon Roberts to take down Josh Allen, it's going to be a real rough day. And this is why I think they need to bring Channing Tindall in. Channing Tindall needs to spy on Josh Allen a lot. And even though he's a rookie, he's your best coverage linebacker. You want to cover up Dawson Knox. You want to make sure that Devin Singletary and James Cook don't hurt you in the flats. And James Cook is a really, really good receiving back, as we know from Georgia and his high school South Florida football playing days. Then you have Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis hasn't been the receiver like the last 2 seasons, but you have Stephon Diggs. He can go off at any moment. You want to make sure you control Josh Allen in the pocket. You bring pressure with just 4. You bring 5, you're losing already. You want to get pressure and sacks with your 4 main guys in Melvin Ingram, Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, Jalen Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. Whoever is the front 4 rushing, they need to get home today.
And then we talk about the receivers and how they handle the receivers. We know that X has not had his best, most consistent season. I think anybody being honest about it would say that, even though he's had a pick at this point, but he hasn't been great. Kudu has been pretty damn good, but the safety play, they don't have Rowe now either, so they're really, really thin in the secondary. Diggs has played in a lot of cold weather. We know that. I think their outside receivers are a concern today. Eric.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best matchup in the world when you're looking at Xavier Howard and how kind of depleted that the Dolphins defense is right now. It's one of those situations where I think, honestly, you're going to just have to hope that you can generate enough rush and get Josh Allen on the ground quick enough to where that's not a factor. Because I really don't see how the secondary is going to be able to stick. And I am concerned. I do agree with Hussam that Channing Tindall should get some run today, especially with Eric Rowe being out, because Eric Rowe's kind of been their ace on tight ends over the last couple of years. And so, if Tindall, whether he's spying or helping to cover the running backs in the flat, or Dawson Knox, I do have my concerns overall with the coverage. Of course, this is, again, weather permitting on the passing game, really on both sides. I mean, the weather thing is overblown. I know there's the narrative about Tua, but at a certain point, neither quarterback is going to be able to do anything if it's bad enough.
Ethan and Eric, to get on an ad-lib right here. What if Tua pulls a Mac Jones 2 for 3, 66 yards, and pulls out a win? Are you guys taking that in your?
I know you've said that, but there's just no way McDaniel's going to do that. Right? Like I understand the thought process there, and he's going to get blamed either way. Like, we know that. Like, if they win and he doesn't do anything extraordinary, he's going to get blamed. And if they lose, okay, or even if they win and he plays poorly, or if they lose and it doesn't look like he can grip the ball, we're going to hear all kinds of stuff in this game. But I don't think McDaniel's going to change the game plan that much. It's just not. It's counter to everything he is. I mean, it's almost like he has, and I think that's something we need to talk about as the season progresses and into the offseason is, I love the guy. I love everything he's done from a personality standpoint, from a management standpoint. Obviously, he knows how to game plan. But I think sometimes there is a little thing where he's a little too cute, and
too cute, over aggressive,
a little too unconventional, and at times that's going to get you burned. So does it get them burned today? I'm not sure, but I think there's certainly a possibility that it could. All right, so we appreciate everybody checking in here today. We're trying to read some of the comments here. Adam Hurley saying we love 15 degrees; it makes us tougher. I like 15 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure about Fahrenheit. If it gets to 15 degrees Celsius, I have covered a bunch of games in Buffalo. I will say this. I covered the Ricky Williams game. There's a great story about Ricky Williams. He was in the locker room. Rob Conrad and others told this story. He was in the locker room. He literally was not going to go to the field. He did not want to play. He said it was too cold, and he was not. He was in there in the locker room. He was not going to play. They literally pushed him onto the field, and he rushed for 228 yards on 27 carries. I like the fact that Jalen Phillips and some of the others are acting like the conditions don't bother them. That is a good thing.
Monogamy for one.
Right, exactly. Well, and I'm talking, and here's the other thing. You're talking about a guy like Jalen Phillips. He's a California guy who played in Miami. Okay, so I give him credit for braving the elements the way he is. I think there is something to that to show that you don't care about what you're going to be facing. Here's the other thing, though. That place is not going to be full tonight. I know Bills fans, they say they'll go through anything, but the conditions are not great. It's probably going to be 2/3 full in that building. That will help Miami a little bit. And so I think that is something to look at tonight. All right, let's get to the prize picks. I'm going to go through the list here. Tell me over or under here. They lowered the number. I had gone under on this already, but now they lowered the number a little bit. Hussam, quickly. Tua, 220.5 passing yards.
Under.
Me too. Josh Allen, Eric, 225.5. Use that code 5, by the way.
Under.
Tua, 5.5 rushing yards. I think is an easy over, honestly. He's going to have to scramble for his life a couple of times. He'll slide forward for 5.5. Josh Allen is up to 46.5 without the promotion. I think we all agree on that. We go over. Let's go to you on this one, Hussam. Raheem Mostert, 48.5 rush yards.
I'm going to go with the over on that. I think he gets at least 70.
Jeff Wilson not on the board, by the way. He's active, right? That's interesting to me. He's not on the board for rush yards. Both Buffalo backs are on the board for rush yards. Eric, which one of these two would you play? Singletary 41.5, James Cook 26.5. He's been getting a little more of the work lately.
James Cook. I would run James Cook there. Singletary, I think, is going to be more of a threat in the passing game, if anything.
I agree with you on that. All right, so that gets to this. Singletary, wow. 8.5 receiving yards for Devin Singletary? Is that real? I would play that over. Tyreek Hill, 73.5 receiving yards. Hussam.
I think you'll get the over with Tyreek.
So let me ask you this question before I go back to Eric. Jalen Waddle, 53.5.
I think he'll get the under on Jalen.
Okay, interesting. Maybe some drops there. We know his hands are not quite as good in the weather. That may be an issue. Diggs at 69.5, Eric.
I think he'll get the volume, yeah.
Okay.
He'll get there.
Better play, Hussam, you choose. Gabriel Davis at 35.5. Trent Sherfield, I know your answer here, 22.5.
Say it one more time.
Gabe Davis, 35.5. Trent Sherfield, 22.5.
The better play. I got to go with Sherfield, but I honestly think Davis will also get the same.
All right, which tight end would you play? They also got James Cook and Isaiah McKenzie are on the board too, but let's go with this one. Tight ends. Dawson Knox, 25. You choose, Eric, one or the other. Dawson Knox, 25.5. Micah 16.5.
That's not a big enough gap. Give me Dawson Knox.
Do you know who's not on the board? You know who's not on the board tonight? Jason Sanders.
Oh, brother.
If it was 1.5, would you play it, Hussam?
Oh.
None of the kickers are on the board, by the way. Neither of the kickers is on the board.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't play it.
Yeah, no.
I wouldn't either. And then passing touchdowns, Tua is not on the board. That's interesting. Josh Allen, 1.5. Hussam.
Yeah,
yes?
You'll get that. You'll get that from him.
Well, let me ask you this: if you get that from him, because we're going to the picks now, if you get the 1.5, if you get the 2 touchdowns from Josh Allen, they're winning the game, aren't they?
I think they are. I mean, they're built to play in this weather. Allen can do a lot of things just with his body. I think it'll come down to Allen, getting over 70+ rush yards, and then an easy Dawson Knox conversion. The easy Dawson Knox touchdown as well.
Okay, I think that's fair. Eric, what are you thinking tonight? They win or no?
17-6 Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
I think we get a really low scoring game.
I mean, if there's a 6 tonight, this is going to be an ugly week down here, right? 3 straight losses.
Yeah.
Is going to be an ugly week, and you're going to be slipping as far as 7, right? In the standings here, and you've got tiebreaker. You got tiebreaker problems with the Chargers and with the Bengals. This is going to get a little bit dicey here. They're going to need to run the table when they get back here, right? I mean, that's where we're headed, right? They need to win those last 3. Can they? Hussam, real quick. I mean, if we're looking at what are we looking at? Packers, Jets, and Patriots, right? Can they run it?
Right, and it depends if Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love is playing down here in Miami. As we know, Miami is really, really good home team. If they do lose, I think McDaniel will have them back on track. The Packers' defense is what it was last year against the Patriots in New England. I mean, we know Tua has Bill Belichick's number. That Patriots defense is number 2 in defensive EPA per play. They're also top 5 in defense DVOA. Really, really depends on how they do up against the Bills and the Packers if they get some type of semblance. And it really depends if Zach Wilson is playing that season finale at home here. I think they'll get the win against the Jets. New England, I'm a little bit dicey about. Packers is 50-50.
I'm not feeling real good about that. Yeah. We're not feeling real good about that.
I mean, look, Ethan, here's the thing. Look, the Vikings came back from 33-0 today.
I know.
Justin Tucker missed from inside 50 yards on the same day. There's got to be some inexplicable, wacky hijinks we get up to in Buffalo tonight. But as I projected in the scouting comment episode yesterday, I think the Dolphins lose this 30-17.
All right. I do think there's going to be more scoring maybe than Eric thinks here, but I do think that the Dolphins lose by double digits tonight. I just have trouble seeing it. I don't think their team has been built for this. I think they're built for what we're going to see in the last 2 games.
I spoke to Alf, yesterday, and Alf mentioned it on the pod. They're built to beat the Packers.
Yes, they will beat the Packers, and they will beat. I do believe they'll beat the Jets in the last game of the season because.
Oh God! Please don't jinx this, Ethan.
I don't want to. You know what? I'm getting out of here. We may have a watch party, so we may jinx the whole thing. Thanks to our sponsors, and also, Andy, what are you doing?
He really did get out of here. Oh my God!
BettorEdge. Use the code 5RSN. And by the way, literally, I got to go watch the end of the Heat game. We've got a Heat post-game show coming up here in about 45 minutes. They may lose in Mexico City, so the weather that's an altitude problem. That's not a weather problem. Have a good day, everybody.
Later.